Today I want to show you how I created my fun puzzle Valentine's Day card, which was super simple and doesn't require many fancy tools at all, and so much fun to create. Hi everyone, I'm Steph from Chaos in the Craft Room, and thank you so much for joining me today. For the sentiment for this card, I use the Kindred Stamps building blocks stamp set, but if you don't have this, you can always print something off using your printer, just a sentiment that's relevant. And I also used some googly eyes. I had a range of sizes there to choose from. And I have some bows from Centurus Gorgeous. And I absolutely love this brand, but of course you can just create your own with some ribbon. However, that's not my forte, and so I just prefer to buy the bows. To make these cards, I just used a few puzzle pieces from a puzzle which I already have, and it has a few pieces missing. So instead of throwing it out, I thought I would use it for crafting, and I think that's what we do best as crafters, make the most of everything we have, and it's a fun way to come up with new and creative ideas. So I just assembled the pieces together to make two large pieces that fit together. And really it can be any shape, it just depends what size card you want to make, and that can determine how you want to put the pieces together. You can tell I obviously haven't created the puzzle. As you can see there, the puzzle pieces, they work together, but they're not the perfect fit, and that's fine because we'll be painting them. My first step is to paint these puzzle pieces, and I start by using white gesso to sort of create this layer underneath, and this will really help making the acrylic paint stick to the puzzle pieces. And for the hat, I'm using the Memory Box dies, the Holiday Hats die set. Now if you don't have that, that's fine, you can use anything else or just cut out a hat. It doesn't matter, but that's just what I wanted to use for my card. And then for the hearts, you can just use any heart dies or punches that you have, or just hand cut them out. So first I'm putting on a layer of gesso just with an old paintbrush, and that's just to create the base, a nice surface for us to work off. And it also helps hold all the puzzle pieces together, so then you can pick it all up without it falling apart. Now when you paint it on, make sure you get it in between all the grooves, but you also don't want a huge dollop on there so that you can't see the grooves of the puzzle pieces anymore, as I quite like that texture that you can see. So I painted on quite finely. And of course, depending what type of look you want, you could do the same or something thicker. And you can see that you can still see through the puzzle at the moment with this initial layer of gesso. So I've let it dry overnight and I go over it with a second layer of gesso. But that's not really necessary. You could really just go over it once with the gesso. And then if you wanted to block out the background image a bit more, you could use some white acrylic paint. If you have transparent gesso only, that's fine. You can use that as well. And then go over it with white acrylic paint. So this is just me going in the next day with another layer of gesso, which does make it that little bit smoother, but not necessary. Now I do find, as you can see here, it does stick a little bit to the paper. So to try and prevent it from sticking to the paper once it's dried, just after you've painted it, just move it round on the bit of paper, and that way it should try and minimize the amount it sticks to the paper. But you can just rip it off, otherwise it doesn't matter. Then you can let it dry overnight, or you can use a heat tool to dry it, depending what your time schedule is. And then we're ready to start the fun bit of painting it a color. Now pick any colors you want. I just use acrylic paints. I use two different colors, and then I always like having a bit of white acrylic paint as well. And this way I can create a bit of shading with the color, on the puzzle pieces, which gives it a bit more interest. And also I like it to be a bit lighter around where the eyes and I guess the face of the little puzzle piece characters would be. And once again, I'm trying to make sure that you can see all the little lines from the puzzle piece because I quite like that look. But of course, if you don't want to see that, that's fine. You could just leave in use a thicker gesso to block out those lines. If you like this video, I'd absolutely love your support if you could hit the like and subscribe button to see future videos. And also, if you create any cards, I'd absolutely love to see what you create as well. And just use the hashtag chaos in our craft room, as you can see on the screen there. And that way we can all see what we've created. And I just love the inspiration that we can all give each other as well. And then while I was going, I thought I may as well create another one. So I'm just going to paint the second lot of puzzle pieces there as well. And these are quite large puzzle pieces, so I am making quite large cards. But if you want to make smaller cards, it's perfectly fine. Just use fewer puzzle pieces and make a smaller pieces for you to work with on your card. So for me, I like using colours that aren't your stereotypical pink and blue. I like using more neutral colours just to steer away from using stereotypes. To speed up the process, I then dry the paint using just a heat tool just to make it quicker to work with. But of course, you could leave it overnight if you prefer. And then while we have the paint out, and I realized that this actually didn't start recording when I was doing this step, so my apologies, but all I've done is I've just die cut some hearts, and you can use any hearts that you have already or just cut them out by hand. And I just paint them the same color as the jigsaw pieces we already have, and I like using 2 different sized hearts, but of course that's not necessary, just the look that I was going for this card. And just paint the rest of those hearts. And that way we'll have the hearts matching the same colour as the jigsaw pieces, just to tie everything in together. And for this card, I've also decided that it would be really nice to increase a bit of diversity in the cards that I create, as I think that's really important, especially if you're selling cards and have them up on display somewhere. And that way you really increase the inclusion if you create a diverse range of cards for everyone. So I've decided for these lot of cards, I'm going to create one with 2 females and one with 2 males. And of course, the males or females can both wear hats and bows, but really that's just the way I wanted to create them, to make sure there was a bit more diversity and people then can choose what card suits them, and really they're welcome to choose any of those cards. Okay, so now for creating our little characters. So I'm just going to grab some bows and some googly eyes, and of course I'm always making a mess, especially when I pour out these googly eyes, but that's okay, we've got plenty to pick from and a range of sizes. And then just play around with how you want them positioned. If you have the one eye, it looks like it's you've got a side-on view and they're looking at the other little character piece, or you can have the 2 eyes, so I like doing a mix of both. These cards are certainly a lot of fun to create. I find any cards with some googly eyes are fun to create, but I really like just creating cards where you don't need a certain stamp, die or stencil. It's just using up bits and pieces and having fun creating with what you have. And really glad this jigsaw didn't just get thrown out and I had a chance to incorporate it in my crafts, and it was certainly a lot of fun. I'm certainly looking forward to creating a few more of these style of cards. And I'll just leave you with some music as I assemble this second one, and I'll be back after that. And then stamp out the sentiment just using my Misty stamp set, which just makes it a bit easier. But I also really like printing out my own sentiments sometimes if I find that I know of something that works a bit better on my card, or if you have a different stamp set that has a sentiment that could work as well, then you can just use that. Just use what you have. Cards have turned out. It's great to have such a range. I hope you've been inspired watching this video, and I hope you've enjoyed it. If so, I'd absolutely love your support to hit the like and subscribe button, as your support really does mean a lot, and I love creating these videos. Please remember to use the hashtag if you create some of these cards, as I absolutely would love to see how your cards turn out using the hashtag chaos in our craft room, as I'm sure we've all had times of our craft rooms being a bit chaotic, and love to see what you create. So thank you for sharing. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you next time.